Hey guys, we're here for another social studies lesson. So, yesterday we should have learned about personal budgeting and is involved in a personal budget. So, if you can remember from yesterday, we talked about how a budget is a plan for how you use your income. And if you remember, income is the money that you earn either from a job or from somebody giving you money, or maybe you sold something. Any time that you are making money, you are earning an income. So we need to also remember those vocabulary words: income, expenditures, and savings. Okay. And a personal budget is basically just a plan of how you're going to use all of those things so that you have money and you're able to use your money wisely. Remember, there are tons of people that use budgets. Families, individuals, businesses, even schools use a budget. So, if you can remember from yesterday, we went through about how to budget and how to save. And we also talked about how you want to make sure that your income is always more than your expenditures. If you are spending more than what you make, you are going to be in the negative. So you always want to have more income, more money coming in than what you are spending. And it's always good to have the leftover money after your expenses are paid for to use that in your savings. Okay? So we are going to look at that today. Let's rethink, though, that how a budget helps me make responsible economic decisions and could help me meet a savings goal. And if I save my money, I can spend more money in the future. And I can also spend it if there's an emergency or to buy something fun. So, being able to know how to use your money correctly will only help you in the long run. So today we're going to read a story called A Chair for My Mother by Vera B. Williams. And as we read, I want you to think about this family's spending and saving decisions. Also, while I'm reading, I want you to be thinking about the character, Mama. And I want you to notice the character traits, and how we notice behaviors that a character repeats again and again. We've been talking about that in reading. But I want you to keep track of the character throughout the whole story and look for a pattern. And then when we finish reading, I want you to ask yourself to describe Mama. What is the big deal about what Mama does? So let's read the story. A Chair for My Mother. My mother works as a waitress in the blue tiled diner. After school, sometimes I go to meet her there. Then her boss, Josephine, gives me a job too. I wash the salts and peppers and fill the ketchups. One time I peeled all the onions for the onion soup. When I finish, Josephine says, "Good work, honey," and pays me. And every time I put half of my money into the jar. It takes a long time to fill a jar this big. Every day when my mother comes home from work, I take down the jar. My mama empties all her change from tips out of her purse for me to count. Then we push all of the coins into the jar. Sometimes my mama is laughing when she comes home from work. Sometimes she's so tired she falls asleep while I count the money into piles. Some days she has lots of tips. Some days she only has a little. Then she looks worried. But each evening, every single shiny coin goes into the jar. We sit in the kitchen to count the tips. Usually, Grandma sits with us too. While we count, she likes to hum. Often, she has money in her old leather wallet for us. Whenever she gets a good bargain on tomatoes or bananas or something she buys, she puts by the savings and they go into the jar. When we can't get a single other coin into the jar, we are going to make all the money and go buy a chair. Yes, a chair. A wonderful, beautiful, fat, soft armchair. We will get one covered in velvet with roses all over it. We are going to get the best chair in the whole world. That is because our old chairs burned up. There was a big fire in our old house. All our chairs burned. So did our sofa and everything else. That wasn't such a long time ago. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals. She had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's Mother?" I yelled. "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, "She's here, she's okay. Don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and 3 kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought his beautiful rug. My mother's older sister Sally had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware, and dishes. My cousin brought her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are all the kindest people," she said, "and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over." That was last year, but we still have no sofa and no big chairs. When Mama comes home, her feet hurt. "There's no good place for me to take a load off my feet," she says. When Grandma wants to sit back and hum and cut up potatoes, she has to get as comfortable as she can on a hard kitchen chair. So that is how come Mama brought home the biggest jar she could find at the diner, and all the coins started to go into the jar. Now the jar is too heavy for me to lift down. Uncle Sandy gave me a quarter. He had to boost me up so I could put it in. After supper, Mama and Grandma and I stood in front of the jar. "Well, I never would have believed it, but I guess it's full," Mama said. My mother brought home little paper wrappers for the nickels and the dimes and the quarters. I counted them all out and wrapped them all up. On my mother's day off, we took all the coins to the bank. The bank exchanged them for $10 bills. Then we took the bus downtown to shop for our chair. We shopped through our 4 furniture stores. We tried out big chairs and smaller ones, high chairs and low chairs, soft chairs and harder ones. Grandma said she felt like Goldilocks and the 3 bears trying out all the chairs. Finally, we found the chair we were all dreaming of, and the money in the jar was enough to pay for it. We called Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. They came right down in their pickup truck to drive the chair home for us. They know we couldn't wait for it to be delivered. I tried out our chair in the back of the truck. Mama wouldn't let me sit there while we drove, but they let me sit in it while they carried it up the door. We sat the chair right behind the window with the red and white curtains. Grandma and Mama and I all sat in it while Aunt Ida took our picture. Now Grandma sits in it and talks with people going by in the daytime. Mama sits down and watches the news on TV when she comes home from her job. After supper, I sit with her, and she can reach right up and turn out the light if I fall asleep in her lap. So as you can see, this was a wonderful story about a family who had to learn how to save money in order to get something that not only they wanted, but they really kind of needed. As you can see, Mama was working really, really hard to try to support her family, and she just needed a place to sit down at the end of the day to rest herself. So your job today is going to be this. You're going to think about budgets and saving and income, and you are going to look at these 2 budgets. It says Peyton and Alyssa are twins. They both earn an income from their monthly allowance and their babysitting jobs. They also have a variety of expenses, including bills, food, and books. Both girls are trying to save up for a new video game. Examine these students' personal budgets and answer the questions on the next slide. So you're going to look at what is the same, what is different, and you're going to answer the questions on this next slide. What is the difference between these 2 budgets? Who is making more financially responsible decisions, and how do you know? And then what is the purpose of a budget? Why is it so important? Make sure that your answers are in nice, long, fourth grade complete sentences, not just one or two words, because we want to know your full thoughts of what is going on. All right, I hope you have a good day and that you are able to understand everything about budgeting and expenses. Have a wonderful day.